Hey everybody, it is Christy Love, founder and executive director of Lead Her, and I'm coming to you today just to show you a little bit about my prayer journal. I've had so many of you ask over the last year or so, how do I do my prayer journal? How do I set it up for the new year? And so that's actually what I'm working on today in my own personal life, is getting that new journal ready for the new year. So I thought as I did that, I would just kind of share with you a little bit of my process and what that looks like. So for me, this is what I do. I always have my old prayer journal with me so that I can transfer some stuff from that. A lot of you have asked what kind of journal I use, and I actually just use, it's a Mead journal that I get at Walmart. So they're about $11 at Walmart. It's a 400-page journal with lined paper, so it works really, really good for me. I get a pack of the sticky note tabs that you can get. They come in 4 different colors all in one package for like $3. And so I'll just use a permanent marker and just make myself my own little tabs. And so the tabs that I use, so that you guys kind of know, the sections that I set up, I have thanks. So I have an area where I write down all of my Thanksgiving. That's kind of my daily journaling. At the end of every day, I'll sit down and just kind of my scavenger hunt, like we've talked about in videos before. What are those things that I can be thankful for no matter how the day went? Trying to find some of those things that I can focus on at the end of the day. So I'll just date it and then write my thanks to God at the end of every day. The next one I've got is requests. And so that area is just, again, I date it. I write down what that request is. Usually I leave a line or two just so that I have a place to go back as I'm marking those off that they've been answered. A place where I can go back and maybe make a little note to myself that this is how he answered that prayer. This is when that prayer was answered. Because I date them, it's often neat to see the date of that answer as well. So you can kind of see how long it took him to work. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll write those requests in pen, and then when they get answered, I'll go back and highlight them in either yellow or orange or pink or whatever. But I love being able to look at the previous year's journal and just go back and look at all the different colors that are in it from different answers and things like that. So love to be able to do that. Then the next section that I do is confession. That's always a fun section. And so just a place where I can write when I'm feeling really convicted, really heavy-hearted over some things. A lot of times this is a place where I actually write out prayers and just say, you know, God, I'm dealing with this. This is what I'm confessing to you today. I'm struggling with this. And so that's a section that I have. And then the last section that I have is called words. And what that is I always pick a word of the year. Many of you know that. You've heard me talk about that before. My word for 2014 is discipline. Going to be a fun year in 2014, but I just know that 2014 is going to be a lot of hard work. I'm finishing up some really big stuff in 2014. I've got some writing projects. I'm finishing up my college degree in 2014. Excited about that. God's got some huge growth coming for Lead Her in 2014. So I know it's going to be a year that requires a lot of discipline of me. And so when I do that, when I pick that word, one thing that I've kind of developed as a habit over the last few years is to look for great quotes or Bible verses, or just things that God reveals to me that are specific to that word for the year. And I'll journal those in that back section under words. So any cool quotes, anything like that that I come up with will fill these pages in the back section over the use and the word and the thoughts of discipline. Now, I always also pick a Bible verse to go with my word of the year every year. And as luck would have it this year, and this was it was just really interesting the way that it worked. It wasn't done on purpose, but my word for the year ended up also being the same verse for the year that we are using for Lead Her's theme this year. And Lead Her's theme this year is boot camp, getting in shape to serve, which really had to do with discipline in all different areas of our life. But so Lead Her, as well as myself, are both using Hebrews 12 verses 10 and 11 in the Message translation. And I love what it says specifically about discipline. In the middle of that passage, it says, at the time, discipline isn't much fun. It always feels like it's going against the grain. Later, of course, it pays off handsomely. And so that's really kind of what I'm focusing on this year in 2014. A couple little notes that I always want to share when it comes to prayer journals for me. I keep this with me pretty much everywhere I go. It doesn't have to be this one. You can use all different sizes, whatever works for you. But, I update it frequently. I write in here, and you'll notice some of these pages are already filled in, and that's because at the end of every year, and that's what I spent this morning doing, at the end of every year, I will go back through last year's prayer journal, and I will take note of all the requests that have yet to be answered, have yet to see the way that God's going to resolve some of those solutions, the ones that are not highlighted, and I will transfer those over to my new prayer journal. And that way I'm carrying those over. I'm not just closing this book and putting it on the shelf. I'm taking these requests as well into the new year with me. And so it's been a really neat day for me to watch God work, to see some of the things and celebrate that he's done in 2013, but also be reminded of all of the things that we're still praying over as we end this year and believing for big things going into the new year. So, I've got several years worth of carryover here, and that's always a neat thing for me to get to see, oh, wow, that one from 3 years ago finally got answered, and we can highlight that off. So that's just a little bit of what it looks like for me when I put this prayer journal together. Use my old one, transfer the unused, unanswered request into the new one, divide it into those different sections, put my word of the year in there, put my verse of the year in there. I also go ahead, real quick, I'll show you this too. I put my goals in here on the very front page, and this is just good for me to be able to see these are the things that I'm really focusing. This is why I've chosen discipline this year. These, for me this year, I've got 12 personal goals. And then also in the back, I use the back cover to list Lead Her's goals for the upcoming year. And that way I can just have those right at my fingertips all the time, constantly have those on my mind, my heart, as I pray that God directs me and guides me to be able to meet those in this upcoming new year. So I hope that helps you a little bit as you guys have asked and some direction on how to do a prayer journal. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments here on the blog, and we will definitely get those answered as quick as we can. But I'm excited to watch you guys use this tool in 2014 because I really believe, in fact, I shared this at Northbridge Church yesterday when I was teaching, I really believe that when we use a prayer journal, it really gives us a front row seat to watch God work in a very, very intentional way, because it helps us to really hyper focus on his activity in our life and the lives around us. So I'm really excited to watch you develop this habit in 2014 and see how it transforms your prayer life and your relationship with God. Blessings, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.